I have a confession to make. The last time you were here, I basically left that conversation recognizing that if my husband and I were going to buy a car, we should have bought a car. We did not buy the car, but we definitely now need to buy a car, and the world is a little different. We got 25% automotive tariffs. We've got
Oh,
no more Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
oh.
Talk to me about how bad of a blunder did we make here?
Actually, you didn't make a bad blunder as of yet, because remember, we're working with an administration that fluctuates. So one day, so my information is going to fluctuate also. There's going to be some things that are finite, which are financing to save money on some of the back end stuff. We'll talk about that. But as far as, even I called it wrong. I said that they were going to pull that $7,500 incentive on EVs before the end of, before, as soon as he got in office. Well, that wasn't the focus, and it still hadn't been the focus, but not saying that's not going to be the focus. So
Right.
again, I called that wrong, and when I was talking to other analysts on my program. So you got some time, but here's the thing.
Okay.
I know y'all were talking about, I think we were going to talk about hybrids just a little bit, but before I do that, let me throw some numbers out. I did a 5-year trend history looking at COVID, and we like to we do things based upon payment. So I can throw out numbers; it doesn't matter. 2019, the end of 2019, the end of 2024, average new car payment in 2019 was 563.
Mm.
2024, 742.
Wow.
Average used car payment, 395, 2019.
Mm.
2024, 525. You see the correlation between what we're paying for a used car per month now and
Yeah.
for a new car? It's not much of a from a what a used car, a new car in 2019, payment wise, is similar to what the payment is for a used car today.
Used car.
That's
Wow.
over a 5-year period. And then when we
Mm.
look at average used car financing, $20,000, 824 is what we financed back in 2019. It zoomed up to 26,468 in 2024. Also, let me throw out something else to you that is kind of eye-opening, and it makes us look at wealth just a little bit. And I'm looking at these vehicles that roll in from day to day, from week to week, that I get that are priced at $100,000. So back in 2019, about 12,000 units were sold over $100,000.
Wow.
When we look at, and this is over a 2-month period, January, February, when we compare it to same time period to today, it's actually gone up 4.5 times, meaning that about 52,000 vehicles today are
Whoa.
transacting over $100,000. So what we're saying is this wealth disparity. And so a lot of folks aren't affected by what's going on with the economy.
Yeah.
And then a lot of us there are. So we'd also look at this 25% tariffs that are being imposed,
Right.
is that a lot of the vehicles in which are going to be affordable to us are going to be more than likely impacted by it. So there are probably about 40 or so vehicles right now, I may be a little off, that are transacting under $30,000, which is the
Mm.
price point which is affordable for a lot of folks
Right.
who are trying to get into the market, or folks who are on a budget. And when tariffs go into effect, because a lot of these vehicles are imports that are coming outside the country, and then we
Mm.
also look at the Detroit 3, and we look at, hey, what cars are they building? Which would be the Detroit 3 would be Ford, Stellantis, which would be Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler. And then also we look at General Motors, which would be Chevy, Buick, Cadillac,
Mm.
and GMC. Is
Yeah.
that, and when we look at the Detroit 3, they don't make any compact vehicles.
Wow.
And then when we look at compact vehicles, they're coming from Honda, Toyota, Kia, Hyundai,
Mm. Mm.
and those vehicles more than likely are being pulled outside of the country, meaning that more than likely they're going to be affected by this 25% tariff, making them unaffordable, or actually pushing
Wow.
them over the $30,000 price point range when we look at compact vehicles.
Wow. So when you were going down those lists of names, Toyota, Kia, all I could hear was import, Import,
Mhm,
import,
mhm.
import. Because even the big three, and one of the things that we've been looking at is what does it mean to be the big three,
And we
right?
call them
So,
actually
yes,
Detroit three now because they're no longer the big three
Detroit
because of
three.
market share.
Oh,
They
Jesus,
lost
Lord
their
have
market
mercy.
share. And
Wow.
so during our day, it was the big three. It's no
Mm,
longer that now. We call it Detroit three because one of them, actually, one of them is owned by a foreign company, which is Stellantis. That's a foreign run company that's been also run overseas, which has also been an issue within itself.
right.
And then also you have Ford, who's lost a lot of market share. They're still Detroit based, but they're not building any cars. The only car they make is a Ford Mustang, and most of us are not going to be driving a Ford Mustang that doesn't have back seat room. Fun to
Hard to
drive,
get a
but it's
baby
not practical.
carrier. Yeah, pretty hard to get a car seat for your kid in a Mustang, let
And, and
alone
G-
a stroller and diaper bag.
exactly. And then GM is out of the pretty much when we look at compact cars, even mid-sized cars, when we start looking at Toyota Camry, Honda
Mm,
Accord, kind of staples, there's no Chevy Malibu anymore. So they're out of that market too. You got to go
mm.
to the imports to get those vehicles too.
So we really aren't a nation that's building cars here. And one of the things that we learned recently was that even if your car is technically made in America, by the time the brakes go from Canada to Mexico to Michigan, back to Canada before they're back into Detroit, and by the time your steering wheel and all of these parts that not just have one border to cross, but may have multiple borders to cross back and forth before they make it to their final destination, made in America is more a myth. It's more aspirational than it really is anything else. So for people who are in the market to purchase vehicles now, when we know that these tariffs are fickle, we know. I mean, we know that there's a 90-day pause, but the 90-day pause brought us back to the 10% general levy on everybody except Canada and Mexico, who got these additional. There's a lot. We don't even. I don't even know, quite frankly, if the White House knows who's got a tariff, who's got what tariff at one
You
time.
know they don't. You know we heard that they were planning up to the last moment, and then also we're hearing rumblings, as we do every day, is that the tariffs that they put on parts. So when you come in to get a brake job done,
Right.
is that they may ease or relax that just a little bit. So again, my information is only as good as the information that coming out of the White House.
Right. Or should we say the information coming out of Truth Social or Twitter?
Oh,
Because
oh, oh,
apparently
that's
all
it.
those
That's
are
it.
the official communication channels now.
Or maybe we should call it untruth social.
There we go. Lies, social lies.
Okay, okay, I like that.
Social lies. So if you are still like me, but Brian and I are like, well, we still got a car to buy, so we're gonna have to bite the bullet, and a bigger chunk of that bullet's coming out of our collective savings. What should we be looking out for? How should we be preparing? There's no real Consumer Financial Protection Bureau anymore. I don't know if you can
No.
speak a little to what that agency used to do to protect car purchases. What kind of reality should we be preparing ourselves for if we're still in the market for a new car?
Oh, okay, so my information is short term. It's a moving target.
Yeah.
So this is what some of the automakers have announced in order to try to continue showroom traffic because there was such a huge uptick in March with consumers pulling ahead sales. Is that we're not sure where we're going to be for April. So here's what a few automakers decide to do. Lexus and Toyota, same family, they made a decision that we're going to hold prices for right now temporarily.
Okay.
Okay. Temporarily.
Appreciate.
We don't know what temporarily means.
Right. Could
Okay.
mean, but okay.
And when we get into hybrids, that's a whole nother conversation because
Mm,
there's this shift with hybrids right now. Toyota and Lexus has been kind of the kings in the hybrid lane. It's
okay.
hard to get hybrid. So that's a whole other conversation there. Okay.
Wow.
So when we hear also from the Detroit Three, Stellantis, which is Jeep, Chrysler, and Dodge, and Fiat, and they got some other brands too. They're doing employee pricing. So whatever employees pay for the vehicle, that's what you'll pay for the vehicle.
Oh
All this is
wow.
temporarily now. And
Okay.
also Ford has offered the same thing, is that whatever their employees pay, that's what you pay. That way they don't keep traffic coming in. Hyundai and Genesis mentioned, which is also part of the same family, Genesis, which is a luxury brand to Hyundai, is that we're going to hold prices for right now. We don't know how long they're going to hold prices for
Right.
because holding prices could mean profit, could mean a number of variables. They're going to hold prices till about June, and they're going to reassess some things.
Okay.
For folks who are looking at a different price point of vehicle, when we're talking about $100,000 vehicles, such as Land Rover, Jaguar, they made a decision that we're holding everything at the port right now, meaning that whatever's here in the States, that's what's going to be available for right now. So that means demand and supply. That means getting back to COVID that means that prices will probably shoot up for the limited supply for folks who want a Land Rover vehicle. There aren't too many Jaguars available. So folks who want a Land Rover or Range Rover, that means you're going to get into a supply. You're going to get into a supply issue. Also, when we go over to Nissan, Nissan said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to lower the price of two of our top selling vehicles to try to get ahead of this COVID just a little bit. And when we look at another company who is Indian owned, Chinese built Indian owned, I'm a little confused right now. Chinese built Indian owned, is that we're going to stop building our flagship flagship car. So it's coming from China. We're just going to take it off the drawing board. So that we won't have that vehicle coming in anymore. And that's Volvo. And I won't talk about somebody who got us into this mess, which folks are still driving some of his vehicles because he's doing some price reductions too. But I'm not a fan, so I'll leave that alone, and you shouldn't be buying it anyway because there's too many other folks that's in the industry that you could be supporting. So when we look at EVs, $7,500 still out there. I thought it was a smart. I thought it was but we don't know how long. That could change after our conversation.
Could be by the end of this show.